What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're diving deep into a paper that's had the AI world absolutely buzzing, melting down some corners of the internet, and even sparking what some are calling a turf war. We're talking about Apple's research paper, The Illusion of Thinking. And trust me, it's a lot more than just a fancy title. It's got people screaming AI is fake, and others dismissing it as irrelevant. As usual, the truth, as always, is probably somewhere in the middle, and way more interesting. For millennia, humans have grappled with the nature of thought, consciousness, and intelligence. Now, with the advent of large language models, we face a new mirror, reflecting back at us what we define as thinking. This paper from Apple dares to peer behind the curtain of these impressive AI systems, asking, are they truly reasoning or merely performing an elaborate dance of patterns? Now, if you've been on Twitter, or X, whatever they're calling it this week, you might have seen a viral joke rebuttal from one C. Opus, which hilariously is Anthropic's Claude AI engine. Questioning, did Claude debunk Apple? Clarifying, well, not quite, as the RCR Wireless News pointed out. It's like a comedian heckling the audience, but then the audience turns out to be the real act. Good one, Claude. Concerned in the cacophony of AI hype, where every week brings a new claim of groundbreaking intelligence, it becomes crucial to scrutinize the very foundations of our assessment. Questioning, are we observing genuine cognitive leaps, or simply more sophisticated forms of mimicry? This is a question with profound implications, not just for technology, but for our understanding of ourselves. Curious, so what exactly did Apple do? They put these large reasoning models, or LRMs, models like OpenAI's O3, DeepSeek R1, Claude 3.7 Sonnet Thinking, and Gemini Thinking through a series of classic planning puzzles: Tower of Hanoi, Checker Jumping, River Crossing, and Blocks World. And their big finding was that these models experienced an accuracy collapse beyond certain complexity thresholds. Disappointed meaning they just gave up. They hit a wall. Analytical. The very structure of these puzzles, with their sequential operations and rule-based constraints, offers a controlled environment to probe the model's algorithmic reasoning. It's a laboratory, if you will, to observe how these emergent thinking mechanisms truly operate. And then came the clapback. A paper titled The Illusion of Thinking drops. It's basically saying, hold on a minute, Apple, you missed a few things. It's like when you try to show off your new trick and someone points out your shoelace is untied. This counter-argument, authored by A. Lawson, asserts that Apple's conclusions were not about fundamental reasoning failures, but rather experimental design limitations. It's a crucial distinction, reminiscent of how we might misinterpret a musician's performance if their instrument is out of tune or if the acoustics of the hall are poor. Let's get into these criticisms because they're pretty significant. First up, the Tower of Hanoi. Lawson says Apple's experiments risked exceeding the model's output token limits. Think about it. Tower of Hanoi solutions, especially with more disks, get long, exponentially long, and apparently, the models were actually saying things like, the pattern continues, but to avoid making this too long, I'll stop here. They were aware they were hitting a limit. So, it wasn't that they couldn't solve it, but that they chose not to enumerate exhaustively. That's like asking a chef to list every single grain of rice in a paella and then saying they failed because they stopped at 1,000. This highlights a fascinating aspect of LRM behavior, their self-awareness of computational and output constraints. If an evaluation framework fails to account for this metacognitive aspect, misclassifications of true capabilities are inevitable. Is it a failure of reasoning or a pragmatic engineering decision by the model itself? And the criticisms get even better. The river crossing puzzle. Lawson claims that for n greater than or equal to 6 actors or agents with a boat capacity of 3, these puzzles are mathematically impossible to solve. So, Apple was scoring these models as failures for not solving problems that literally cannot be solved. That's like failing a dog for not fetching a stick that doesn't exist. Bit of a setup, wasn't it? This particular point raises a red flag regarding the integrity of benchmark design. If the very problems posed are unsolvable, then any assessment of performance is fundamentally compromised. It underlines the necessity of rigorous mathematical verification of our experimental parameters, ensuring we are testing what we intend to test. Lawson also critiques Apple's use of compositional depth as a complexity metric. He argues it conflates mechanical execution with problem-solving difficulty. For example, Tower of Hanoi has an exponential solution length, but a simple decision per move, while Block's World, though potentially having shorter solutions, is much harder due to its optimal solution being NP-hard. It's about the inherent difficulty of the problem-solving process, not just the length of the solution. And here's the kicker. Lawson actually ran some preliminary tests himself. He asked the models to solve Tower of Hanoi with 15 disks, but instead of an exhaustive move list, he asked for a Lua function that prints the solution. And guess what? High accuracy across the board, completing under 5,000 tokens. This suggests that the models do understand the recursive algorithm. They can reason, but they struggle with the execution of incredibly long, tedious outputs. It's the difference between knowing how to build a house and being able to lay every single brick by hand. This points to a crucial distinction: the comprehension of an algorithm versus the mechanical, exhaustive enumeration of its steps. If a model can generate a compact, executable representation of a solution, its reasoning might be intact, even if its typing capacity is limited by external constraints. Look, at the end of the day, Lawson's paper boils down to some pretty sensible recommendations for evaluating AI. Distinguish reasoning from output constraints, make sure the puzzles are actually solvable. Use complexity metrics that reflect real computational difficulty, and try different solution representations. Basically, be smart about how you test smart things. It's not rocket science, it's just not bad science. Ultimately, this controversy forces us to confront the limitations not just of AI models, but of our own methodologies. The illusion of thinking might indeed be an illusion, but perhaps the illusion of thinking reveals a deeper truth, that the tools we use to measure intelligence must evolve as rapidly as the intelligence we seek to measure. The ongoing dialogue, even if framed as a turf war, is vital for intellectual progress. So what do you think? Is Apple exposing a fundamental AI limit, or were they setting a bit of a trap? Are these models truly reasoning, or are they just incredibly sophisticated autocomplete machines that hit a wall when the typing gets too intense? It's a wild time to be alive, folks, and this conversation, this push and pull between the researchers, is exactly how we figure out what these things can really do. Keep thinking, keep questioning. We'll see you next time.